Thanks, everyone, for joining us for today's episode of The Capitalist Investor. I'm Mark Tepper, joined by Derek Gabrielsen. D, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Mark, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to talk about Joe Rogan today.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's the news du jour, right? Joe Rogan, the podcast king.
Oh, yeah.
Inspiration for the little guys like me and you.
Exactly.
Although you're not little, you're like 6'5". So let's talk about what's going on with Joe. I mean, right. you know more about this than I do, but I did read the headline today that he struck a deal with Spotify for his podcast worth, I think, north of $100 million.
Yeah, they're estimates at this point, but everyone seems to be saying $100 million.
It's not bad.
A pretty nice little payday.
Spotify, you want to pay us? I'll take some of that cash if you're just throwing it around. But no, I mean, Joe Rogan he's got like the #1 podcast.
Yeah,
right?
I'm seeing it's like 190 million downloads per month last year, and 8.4 million subscribers on his YouTube channel.
8.4 million subscribers. I think we have 8.4.
Hey, and we appreciate all 8.4
all 8.4 of you. Thank you very much. So I mean, he's legit, right? I mean, he's able to, flex his muscle as it relates to which platform he's going to take his podcast to.
Yep.
Now, you said prior to this move to Spotify, the platform he was using was YouTube?
Correct.
And it looks like he had some beef with YouTube. They were censoring his stuff or something like that?
Yeah, that's pretty much the big headlines that came out of this is I'm not sure if it was his stuff specifically, but he is friends with what's that guy's name? The Alex Jones, who is like super like as far right wing as you can get.
Yeah.
So again, that's not why we're here, not what we're talking about. But when that guy comes on the show, it's pretty entertaining, actually.
Yeah.
But it's the if you haven't heard about it, basically conservatives on the internet basically are saying that their message is getting censored, or they're coming up with algorithms that are not allowing people to see their messages, their posts, their podcast posts. And it's been a whole thing for a long time.
That's undoubtedly happening.
Oh, yeah, there's no question.
I can get blown up by Trump haters on Twitter, and those posts will not be taken down. They can say whatever they want to say, and those posts will never be taken down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you go the opposite direction, and they get censored. So I 100% agree with that. I've seen it happen firsthand.
Yep, no doubt about it. So, and when you're big and successful like Joe Rogan, he basically, said, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I want more control.
Good for him. It's America.
Yep.
That's the beautiful thing about America. Capitalism, right? Yep. You give me a bad deal, I go elsewhere.
Exactly. And, that's what he did, and he's got the power to do that. So, I thought it was a very interesting topic to talk about for really two reasons. Number one, obviously, the name of the show is the Capitalist Investor. So, is capitalism at its finest. He started from nothing. I watched the clip today. He was actually on Tom Green's internet show in 2006 or 7, I believe, something like that. So it's a little depressing to look at. It's only 13 years ago, but it looks like a completely different world.
Oh. And Tom Green was a weird dude. Yeah. Remember that movie Road Trip where he's about to eat the mouse?
Yeah.
He's disgusting.
He was a niche actor, that's for sure.
Yeah. Career fizzled out pretty quickly.
Yep, which is probably why he was doing internet TV in 2007. But
hey, man, we're basically doing that right now.
But he made it cool. He was one of the founding fathers. So Joe Rogan went on Tom Green's show and basically took a look around and said, hey, man, this is awesome. Where there's no regulations. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about. We don't have to worry about the sponsors not liking a certain joke that we tell or something like that. This is giving us freedom to, number one, be funny. They're comedians.
Yep.
And number two, say whatever the heck they want.
Yeah.
So So that was pretty cool. Back in 2007, that's where basically the idea came around for Joe Rogan, and he took it and he ran with it.
Yep.
And turned it into one of the most successful mediums out there.
Yeah.
But what I thought was particularly cool about what he does is he's willing to talk about anything.
Yeah.
Anything at all. The last one that caught my attention, he had the UFO guy. There was like a UFO documentary out.
Yeah.
And he did 90 minutes with this guy who claimed to work at Area 51.
Really?
Yeah. I watched part of it. I mean, it's a pretty compelling story.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. It's something you should check out.
I'll
come up with his name here in a second.
Surprised someone hasn't taken that dude out if he's
that's what I'm saying.
If he's leaking legitimate secrets, man.
But if you want to talk about Netflix show, I know his show's on Netflix too. The UFO guy.
The UFO. Okay.
I'm going to come up with his name here in a second.
Or was it pretty good?
He's obviously a weird dude.
Yeah.
But he is extremely intelligent, you can tell. So, but yeah.
I'll Google UFO dude later. I'll figure it out.
So, it's really, I really thought it was interesting that it's kind of very similar to what we were talking about with Elon Musk. It's kind of the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yep.
A couple weeks before this came out, he was, Joe Rogan that is, was talking about basically moving to Texas, right?
Yeah.
He said this is right when LA County announced that they're locking down basically forever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of noise on the internet about basically the LA County Health Department wanting a cure to come out before.
Yeah, way to change the narrative on everyone.
Yeah, just completely.
Hey, all we want to do is flatten the curve. Hey, now that it's flat, we're just going to wait until there's a cure.
Yeah. No one's allowed to leave. So that sparked everything. And, obviously Joe Rogan's okay. He can keep doing his podcast, but all of his friends are not. It's probably, I imagine if you're a comic, it's pretty hard to get, unemployment checks and benefits from the government and things like that.
Plus, you can't do what you love doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know that any comedian necessarily. I mean, there's comedians that make it big and they make a lot of money, but most of them start off doing it because they love performing in front of people, right? And now you're gonna not just taking away their financial benefit, but you're taking away what they love,
right?
So yeah, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. So, like you said, I mean, this is capitalism at its finest. And the thing that's interesting to me, D, is I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan used to be a Bernie Sanders guy.
Yep.
So he was almost anti-capitalism, socialism, right?
Yep.
What do you think caused the shift? Being told you can't work anymore, watching his buddies realize they can't work anymore, and now saying this is ridiculous.
That seems to be it, man. It's I think he couldn't take it anymore, right? And he really. The reason I think he is so popular because he's not pigeonholing himself into a certain side or a certain type. He just takes the information and boom, gives an opinion on it. Yep. Right? He looked at all the candidates. He said, this Trump guy, he looks like kind of a buffoon. The other Democratic nominees he didn't seem to like too much. But here's Bernie at least talking about what he believes in. And I've said that on this show before. Bernie seems to believe what he's saying. And Joe liked that.
Yeah.
But once Bernie, it was clear that he was not going to get the nomination. I remember Joe Rogan. Again, I'm just seeing clips. I'm not watching the whole thing. But really saying, hey, are you guys really expecting me to vote for Joe Biden? Like, is this what you want me to do? It's I'm not trying to make light of a sad situation, but the guy seems to have difficulty putting sentences together. I mean,
without a doubt,
it just is what it is.
Yeah.
At this point, and this is without an audience, with script, a teleprompter script, and everything. And Joe is like, he's going to call that out when he sees it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So he switched from. He basically told his audience he definitely was going to vote for Trump over Joe Biden, and then during this lockdown, he took in the information, saw what was going on, and says, "Hey, these restrictions don't make any sense."
Yep.
Just shutting things down for the sake of shutting things down without any actual data behind it doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
My friends over here, they want to work, and they can't.
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting shift to see kind of, again, we talked about quite a few times the shift from kind of a more liberal agenda into, I guess, more conservative or more capitalistic, I think is probably a better word for the show.
How interesting, man, because the trend 6 months ago was Bernie and socialism.
Yep.
Unbelievable. I mean, everybody was jumping on that. Everyone wanted all their student loans paid off. Everyone wants to make $100,000 a year sitting at home not working.
Right.
I mean, everybody jumped on that train. Everybody was, slowly but surely becoming. Now, obviously, we weren't, but lots of people were becoming Bernie Sanders supporters. Mm-hmm. And for Joe Rogan to be a Bernie Sanders guy and then to completely say, you know what, never mind. Socialism's not the way. Capitalism is the way. Mm-hmm. These, local and state governments are telling us we can't be capitalists anymore.
Right.
And forget it. I don't care if I don't agree with what Trump says or how he looks or what he does. I love capitalism, mm-hmm. and there's no other answer right now. Yeah. That's basically, I think, what he says, yep. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's decided that he believes in capitalism, and capitalism can only be achieved with Trump.
Yep.
Right? So I don't necessarily think that he's, a diehard Trump supporter where he's, going to Trump rallies and stuff like that.
Not, no.
Yeah, right. But he's a fan of capitalism, which is awesome.
Yep.
Now, do you remember, did he say that he was a fan of socialism in the past, or did he just like that Bernie Sanders believed the crap that was coming out of his mouth?
Yeah, he was not a raging socialist by any stretch of the imagination, but he just felt like he was the best candidate to represent the people.
Yeah.
So that's basically was his position.
Gotcha. Very, very interesting circumstances here with Joe Rogan, and I think it's great that he's realizing that capitalism really is necessary for people to maintain these lifestyles.
Yep.
Now, I mean, so I haven't heard, in Hollywood is predominantly left-wing.
Right. Even if you're not left-wing, you have to become left-wing if you want to make it in Hollywood.
Either that or a Scientologist.
Yeah.
one or the other gets you pretty far in Hollywood. So when these actors can't go back to work and make movies, what's going to start are these just the first few dominoes to fall with regards to people throwing up their hands and saying, you know what, I reject socialism. I reject these extreme left-wing policies, even if they're not socialism, telling me I can't go to work. All of a sudden, I realize how important capitalism is, and there's really only one way to ensure that capitalism remains the foundation of our society.
Yeah, I think you've already seen it actually with the LA Lakers.
Okay.
I think that was the first domino to drop. Because it must have been about a week after they announced basically an indefinite lockdown, at least in LA County. And it was hilarious. It was straight capitalism, right? They announced the lockdown in LA, right? And then about 5 days later, the governor in Florida said, "Hey, we're open for business. If you are a sports team that is displaced, come on to Florida. We got everything solved. Don't you worry about it." And then mysteriously, like 3 days later, the Lakers are going to begin to open up their facility. Wow. Crazy how that works out, right?
That is amazing. So, yeah, I'm wondering if you're going to see more and more people changing their position like that, right? Yeah. Embracing capitalism. Capitalism it's under fire.
It really is.
I don't understand why. I really don't. I mean, I think it's just people don't understand capitalism. They think that all the government intervention, actually, they disregard all the government intervention, and then they claim that capitalism is at fault. When in my opinion, and I think you feel the same way, all the quote unquote problems with capitalism have nothing to do with capitalism. Right. It has to do with the government getting involved when they shouldn't have gotten involved.
No question about it. Yep.
Right? I mean, just look at what's happening in Ohio. Well, let's look. Well, let's back up. So I think it was maybe Washington. There was a salon owner who opened her salon a little too early.
It was in Texas.
Okay. Well, I think there were a few.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, definitely Texas. And then I just saw someone on Fox who was.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
right.
I think she just had a baby and she had to open her salon back up. Got fined $14,000. Right. Restaurants in Cleveland recently reopened, kind of through a phased approach where they had just patios at first. Now they're open again, obviously with social distancing requirements. But DeWine, kind of flew over top of these restaurants on his murder hornet, and he saw that the patios were a little too crowded, and now he's threatening to fine the restaurants and revoke their liquor licenses. Who does that?
It's
Who
insane.
puts somebody out of business? That's stealing someone's livelihood when all they wanted to do was make a livelihood for themselves.
Make a living. That's all they're trying to do.
Right. It's unbelievable. I mean, what are you going to do as a restaurant with no liquor license? Go out of business?
That's how they make their money.
And they're already only allowed to have 20 to 30% of the people in their restaurant, right? I mean, come on, man. Back off.
And now they want people to basically hire employees to make sure everyone is, the proper distance. It's just not feasible.
You can't do that.
It's just some of the restrictions that they're trying to lay down. They don't. When I say they, it's the government, the local government here in Ohio. They just don't have really good basis for the decisions.
Yeah.
Like, who came up with 6 feet? Like, where did that come from?
Right.
So, if 6 feet 3 inches, we're good to go. But if we're 5 feet away,
it's ridiculous.
So I understand.
I mean, you've seen Titanic. You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids, they wanted to watch it a couple weeks ago, so it's fresh in my mind. But when Leonardo's teaching Kate Winslet how to hawk a loogie and spit off the side of the ship, it can go farther than 6 feet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think you can still catch it from 10 feet away. But it's arbitrary.
Right.
It's random, right? And look, what you need to do is you need to set guidelines and allow people to assume a risk if there is a risk. That's how we've always lived.
Let the people make their choice.
Yeah.
You don't have to. If you're scared of the coronavirus, you don't have to go to a bar. You don't have to go to a patio. If you're in that, there's obviously a demographic that's affected more than the younger demographic. We should be protecting them. We should be doing everything that we can for them. But it doesn't make sense to keep 23-year-old kids at a patio bar more than 6 feet apart. Yeah, I have seen no evidence that is going to make a difference.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to make a difference. And look, being falsely imprisoned is not fun.
No.
And if I happen to go and grab some food on a patio at a restaurant and I see a buddy I haven't seen in 5 years or even 8 weeks since we've been locked up, you're telling me I can't go and give that guy a bro hug? The half handshake, half hug?
Him up,
right? Come on, man. People need to use their heads. You need to have common sense. And the government needs to stay out. Just come up with some guidelines and let people work with the guidelines. And if unfortunately, if some people pass away along the way, they again, I'm not trying to make light of this, but the flu kills a lot of people, and I'm not don't come at me and say I'm calling it the flu, right? But that certainly happens. And what did you came up with a statistic this morning? I think you said the deaths in Ohio, 70% of them were in nursing homes,
right?
Which puts the mortality rate at 1 gajillionth of a percent.
Yeah, it was 0.0. I did the math on my own, but I just took out the nursing home deaths, and if you live in Ohio and you're not in a nursing home, the chances of you dying from corona was 0.00003.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very high.
No.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, we're not trying to make light of this. We're just give us some guidelines. Let us make our own choices.
Yeah.
That's really the important thing. I mean,
and that's what capitalism is about.
Exactly.
Right? The government is an umpire, not a participant. The umpires enforce the rules. They set the rules, right? I mean, that's fine. Just give us some guidelines.
And
if you want me to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask.
Right.
Okay? I don't want to. But if that's going to make people happier and more comfortable, I'll wear a mask. If that's what's going to take to reopen the economy, that's fine. I'll wear a mask. And a lot of people are fighting it. They don't want to do it. I get it, man. I don't want to wear one either. It's filthy.
Yeah.
What am I going to wash it every time I wear it? Like, that could actually probably get you more sick.
I have seen some stuff about that.
Like, I mean, let's say you go into the gas station, you go to grab a Monster because you're tired, or a detox water, detoxwater.com.
We're starting product placements now.
Yeah, we need some sponsorship. So detoxwater.com. I'm not hungover. I like this stuff. It's got like aloe
tasty.
in it. It's healing hydration. So, send us some money, Detox Water. But, you're going into the gas station to get a drink, and you got to wear a mask. And there's a bunch of other people in there coughing, touching stuff, right? You go out, you take the mask off when you get to your car. You don't necessarily wash the freaking thing, right? Like,
right.
I don't know, man. Masks may actually get you more sick. Maybe I'm completely. Maybe I take that back. Maybe I will never wear a mask again. Now that I think about it, I've decided against it for health reasons. Anything else on this topic, or should we wrap up?
So we probably devolved away from our original topic.
What did we start off talking about?
Joe Rogan. But we got into there because Joe had enough, and that's really what capitalism is all about, And so he, I doubt he'll actually move to Texas, but he's sure thinking about it.
But you know what? Capitalism is also about having the ability to flex your muscles.
Right.
Okay? If you don't like what somebody's doing, you need to let them know, I understand what you're doing, but I have a choice. I have options. And if I don't want to keep my business here, I will move.
Right.
If you want to keep me, open your eyes, end the lockdown, be a reasonable bunch of people.
And, it's sad to see as well, but, I mean, people are already leaving New York City in droves. And I don't think those people are going to come back anytime soon. And it's a lot of the younger demographic as well.
Yeah.
So
I've got an apartment there. I haven't been there in 5 months.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. It's not a good situation.
No.
Yeah.
So
at some point, I got to go back and get my stuff before the lease is up. Yeah, I mean, you're going to see big changes like that.
Yeah.
But, I guess to kind of wrap up the episode, I do like that some people who have pretended, maybe not pretended, maybe they just didn't realize how great capitalism was until it was taken away from them. They're waking up.
Yeah, I think you're seeing it. And I think it's a real this is just my opinion. I think we don't like to talk politics on this show, but I think that the Democrats thought this recession stemming from the coronavirus was really going to hurt Trump. And I don't know if it's going to hurt him or help him, but I do really think that the only thing that Americans hate more than Democrat or Republican is tyranny. They want to have choices. They want to have freedom, and when that gets taken away, I think you may be seeing a big shift to maybe even a new political movement. You don't even know.
Yeah.
But people do not like being told what to do with no explanation, and I just don't think it's going to fly in America.
No end in sight, because the end date keeps moving. They keep pushing it back, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, man, that wraps up today's show. If you have any questions, info@swpconnect.com. Shoot us an email there. D, what's the YouTube channel?
Derek G. SWP.
All right, so that's all in the notes if you want to check that out. As always, thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you next week.